troublemaking aliens. The troublemaking aliens, Harvey, Corbett.
Nobody knows the troubles I see. Now, Toastmasters, this toast is for you. Let me begin by saying this. I used to be just like you all. I had no problems, no worries, no flashbacks. In fact, I even smell like some of you. Probably still do. But anyway, let me tell you, I remember just like it was yesterday. Actually, it was about 4 years ago. And those troublemaking aliens came. You know what they did? They didn't do nothing. I tell you, I was drinking. It was like 4 years ago I was drinking. And I was drinking heavy. It was that St. Patty's Day. And I had beer, I had wine, I had green beer, I had yellow beer. It might have been everything. I don't know what I had. But I do remember I had to rush to the restroom as fast as I could. I'm not going to tell you about those details. But anyway, I looked at my watch, found out it was 3:30, and I had to go home. I was traveling from Midland, Virginia to Manassas, Virginia, 17 miles. I've been down that road many times. I know every curve in that road. But this night was a special night. I looked up at the skies. It was dark. It was pitch dark. It was so black as if the moon and the sun had taken a vacation over in Hawaii someplace. And when I began to drive, guess what? It began to rain. The weather became so foul that it rained chicken and ducks instead of cats and dogs. And I like adventure. I drove. And suddenly I looked up. Above me, hovering above me, was this object. And it was coming closer and closer, and lights were being emitted, and they were going around and around. And the faster I drove, the faster they followed me. And I thought I had lost them at one time, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and there were those red and white and blue lights following me. So I drove even faster, and suddenly, boom! My car stopped. The next thing that I know, those aliens was beating down my window, breaking through my window. They took me out, dropped me out from my vehicle, put me on one of those gurneys, set me up in that spaceship. And they began to take my clothes off. Now, I was really scared at that time. And I was embarrassed too. See, I had taken an overdose of these little. You know what those are? Don't worry about it. They took care of that. And the next thing that I knew, I heard them uttering language that I never had heard before. Like medulla oblongata, cerebrium, sciatica. What's that it's all about? Next thing I happened to remember, I woke up in the hospital. Those aliens had abducted me and dropped me off at the hospital. How do I know this? I asked the doctor. I said, what happened to me? How did I get here? He said they dropped you off about 30 days ago. 30 days ago? Well, anyway, I'm there. And next coming in the room, well, the doctor said before he left, he said, Mr. Corbett, you know what? You're lucky to be alive. And then my family came in. And they began to say the same thing. They told me they liked me, missed me, but I was lucky to be alive. And then my ex-wife came into the room. She caressed me and said, I like you, and I'm glad you're alive. Now, I knew that was a tall tale right there. Well, anyway, then came those photographers. But they started taking pictures and all that type of stuff. And they began to ask me questions about those aliens. And one of them asked me, says, hey, are those aliens really aggressive? I said, no, they're conservative, just like you and me. And that got me a gig on the Rush Limbaugh show. All right. I tell you what, fellow Toastmasters, these 8 people that came in that room was the police. And they began to ask questions. And instead of saying, Mr. Corbett, you're lucky to be alive, they said, Mr. Corbett, you might be better off being dead. You say they didn't believe anything that I said. They started writing citations. They wrote one for me being drunk, reckless driving, another intoxication, damage to public property. That's all that I knew. No sense of humor at all. Then I got this letter about a year ago. It was from the collection agent for the hospital. They said I owed them $750,000. I was reading the newspaper. I'm not dumb. I told them they just passed Obamacare. I don't owe you nothing. You know what they said? Says, Obama don't care about aliens. People adopted by aliens. So I got all those problems. Now, I have some advice for you. But I gotta go before I run into this advice with you. Here's this toast for you. And if you ever see any of those aliens, run as fast as you possibly can. Run like you gotta go to the restroom.